Every empire of unfathomable wealth has a lady at its core who exercises true authority via quiet rather than force. One narrative transcends all others in Monaco, where diamonds glitter brighter than the stars and money flows like the tide. Zeus, the god of contemporary finance, and the enigmatic lady he now refers to as his queen are in love. Despite not being a royal by birth, her presence is more revered than any crown. Power, not desire, was the starting point of their affair. Love would become legendary when two powerful forces collided. Tonight, our channel immerses you in a world where love is more expensive than gold and devotion is a tactic. Remember to like, subscribe, and watch through to the finish because this narrative will alter your perspective on power, love, and what it really means to be in charge. Music. She was born to be obeyed, despite the claim that some women are created to be admired. She had become an expert at silent power long before Zeus saw her. She governed by being silent in a society where money talks loudly. She was not from a privileged or royal family. The precise time she entered Monaco's aristocratic circles is forgotten, only that the atmosphere changed from the first evening gala she went to. The tone of conversation lightened, eyes trailed behind. Even millionaire wives saw her with a mixture of interest and discomfort. She was not an elegant person who demanded attention. It gave it an order. She moved with purpose. Her tone was cool. Her smile was simultaneously a warning and a promise. She didn't pursue opulence. She was the embodiment of it. She exuded a confidence that money couldn't purchase. People muttered, the sort that caused even strong men to doubt themselves. Furthermore, Zeus, the guy who established empires and ruled over markets, failed to recognize her attractiveness when he eventually met her. He observed authority. The god of riches looked at her that night as champagne glittered beneath the Monaco lights and understood that for the first time in his life, he was no longer the one being worshiped. Music. It is said that all men, especially those in positions of authority, have moments of humility. The night their eyes met marked the beginning of that moment for Zeus. It was a Monte Carlo charity gala, a sea of diamonds reflecting the lights of the Riviera, chandeliers shimmering like stars, and violins resonating through marble corridors. He was the life of the party. The wealthy god who never had to pursue anything but her, and he came late as he usually did. She was different from the others. There was no need to prove she belonged there, no loud laughing, no crimson lips. She was by herself on the balcony. Calm, poised, and untouchable, the moonlight fell like silk across her shoulders. The chamber appeared to dim as Zeus drew near. They merely looked at each other, no words. However, it was sufficient. The man in charge of markets felt something he couldn't manage for the first time. Curiosity. She welcomed him with composure, as though she had been anticipating him rather than with amazement. Maybe she had. They didn't dance that evening, they were not obliged to. There was a charge of pride, power, and something perilously like fate in the air between them. But one thing was evident as dawn came over Monaco. This was not your typical love tale, it was the start of a quiet conflict. Music. It's never simply romance when two alphas fall in love, it's strategy. Their relationship started off as a merger rather than a happily ever after. It seemed like a bargain with every word they spoke. Each touch is a deliberate gamble. Zeus was accustomed to being in charge. He consistently prevailed in business, love, and life. However, triumph seemed iffy with her. She could settle a dispute with a single look, but she never raised her voice. She didn't have to confront him. She just knew too much about him. And more than any adversary, that terrified him. They never spoke about feeling but art, politics, and power during exclusive meals with views of the Mediterranean. They appeared flawless to outsiders. They were mirrors to one another, reflecting pride, ambition, and the dread of giving up. On certain evenings, their bond was intense, captivating, and euphoric. On other evenings, their mutual quiet was more audible than thunder. "Love isn't about losing yourself," she once said to a friend. It involves manipulating what the other person thinks they have discovered. Zeus, the guy who used reason to create civilizations, became dependent on that mystery. But even love has a cost in a society where power is everything. The queen would shortly initiate contact, one that would alter everything. Even love has a cost in Monaco. Zeus's suggestion, however, was invaluable. It wasn't romantic. It was an imperial proclamation. It took place in Port Hercule one calm evening. The Mediterranean sparkled like liquid silver, and the port shimmered under 1,000 concealed lights. Instead of arriving in a limousine, he drove his own 1989 Batmobile, a representation of his might and humor. The night itself appeared to hold its breath when the engine stopped. She came out wearing a silver gown with sapphire gems pinning her hair, catching every reflection from the water. She appeared more like a fulfilled prophecy than a lady. Then, in the midst of coordinated explosions, Zeus bent down and revealed a 50-carat diamond that was as rare as Monaco's crown jewels. Only a few witnesses, billionaires, royals, and friends were brought in on private jets. There were no photographers or members of the press. It wasn't a suggestion. It was a coronation. There was hushed, almost respectful clapping, the type reserved for queens, as she answered in the affirmative. One reality, however, persisted in the haze as the final fireworks flare dissipated over the water. Their love tale does not stop here. An empire was only being started. Music. It was referred to be a mansion. She referred to it as strategy. Her mansion was a fortress made of marble, gold, and purpose, perched high above Monte Carlo with a view of the sapphire blue Mediterranean. Her language, calm domination, was spoken everywhere. The aroma of her distinctive white flowers permeated the air as the majestic staircase spiraled beneath chandeliers pouring with jewels. A whole floor was dedicated to antique Chanel, Dior, Elisab, and other couture, all of which were kept behind glass that could only detect her touch. Only princesses, Erices, and billionaires who never made an appearance in Forbes attended her secret tea salons in the afternoons. Although there were few conversations, alliances were formed. She even had a reason for her patio. She was able to look down on the entire Riviera, the docks, the mansions, and the luxury. People who came into her house frequently departed altered. Some reported feeling motivated, others were intimidated. However, they all agreed on one point. She wasn't a housewife. It was a ruler. She was exact, patient, and well conscious of her authority. Every diamond on her bracelet, every marble column, and every picture were positioned for purpose rather than beauty. Her lights continued to shine long after Monaco had gone to sleep when night fell. The Queen's kingdom planned because it never really sleeps. Music whispers move more quickly than yachts in Monaco. The headlines started to appear shortly after their engagement. Tales of conflict, treachery, and power conflicts masquerading as romantic relationships. Some said Zeus had become aloof and preoccupied with his business. Others said that she was now the one with the strings. Neither denied nor confirmed, because they used quiet as a tactic in their society. The ideal pair started to fall apart behind closed doors. Conflicts over control erupted at business meetings. Every move on the chessboard of affection became crucial. She was aware of perception's power. The storm might be calmed or ignited by a single appearance. She always had a perfect grin next to him at charity events. Every movement is perfectly practiced. Cameras witnessed solidarity. Insiders, however, witnessed calculation. There were rumors that she had started establishing her own network of investors, one that was beyond Zeus's sphere of influence. She was becoming an expert at controlling the story, whereas he used to control the markets. "Do you still love me?" Zeus allegedly asked her late one evening on the balcony of their golden house. She didn't respond. "Love never leaves," she said as she turned, her reflection glistening in the glass. "It just picks up hiding spots." Monaco started to question if Zeus or his queen actually controlled the kingdom after that night. Music. Some love tales fade in a society that is based on reputation and luck. Theirs changed. What started out as passion evolved into a relationship and, ultimately, a dynasty. Zeus and his queen became into more than just a romance. They grew into an empire. Every action, public appearance, and choice was well planned. He dealt with authority. She was in charge of perception. Together, they were able to master both. They established galas that molded international relationships, established foundations that were on par with royal charities, and constructed estates larger than palaces. Their reflections sparkled in the Monaco skyline. Ambition, glass, and gold entwined. She was no longer referred to as Zeus's wife. They referred to her as the Diamond Queen, the lady who made luxury a legacy. Every spectacular occurrence, however, had a deeper meaning. Love redefined, trust restored. "We don't chase crowns," she once confided in a friend. "We silently create them piece by piece." They no longer appeared to be lovers vying for dominance as they passed through the marble corridors of their kingdom, but rather like kings who had finally come to terms with their position. Nevertheless, one question persisted among the golden knights of Monaco. Who really is in charge in a world where queens may rise and gods can fall? Their tale became legendary in Monaco, where power is the money and elegance is a language. Zeus, the lady who governed him and the man who ruled civilizations. She was more than simply his companion. She was the thought behind his actions, his mirror, and the serenity in the midst of his storm. Together, they changed the elite's definition of love. Balance, not capitulation. Legacy, not fame. Everything they constructed shimmered with purpose. From their golden house to the floating castle and the aircraft bearing her name. A kingdom built on strategy, grace, and implicit faith. She was a master of stillness, while others showed off their strength. And that quiet turned become her crown. One fact endures while the Riviera shines beneath their glass and gold empire. Genuine power doesn't yell. It whispers love, loyalty, and jewels. Something was believable without ever needing to be seen. Remember to subscribe, like, and share our channel, where each tale reveals the real narrative of power, riches, and those who dare to have both. We appreciate your time and hope to see you in the upcoming episode.